Okay, people, I did not film the removal, but it removed. Come on, focus. There we go. Look at that. I got it out. I'm kind of amazed. It's the first time I think I've successfully removed a snapped bolt as opposed to having to drill it out and re-tap the hole. This kit, which Eric O of South Main Auto said was his favorite, worked. Now I will say that this kit that I got, which is a Ridge kit, didn't come with left-hand threaded drills. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but those drills are normal twist drills, and from what I understand, it's best to use left-handed twist drills if for no other reason than the broken bolt might twist itself out while you're using the drill, and you don't even need the easy out. So a couple of footnotes here. Have lots of drills. Now if you can see that rod, the drill was at the very end of the bolt. I started out with the smallest bit in the kit, which is what the kit recommends. Start out with small and then get larger and larger. And the first drill, the smallest, for the smallest easy out, actually snapped off when it got to the end. This drill, the second drill, the next largest up easy out, it wandered a little bit and came ever so close to taking those threads out, if you can see that, but it didn't. And I also didn't quite get to make it all the way through the bolt with the second larger drill bit, because it wore out just before I got to the end, as you can see. And that's why I say have lots of drill bits. I would say probably 3 at least, depending on how long the bolt is that you're trying to drill out. You should have multiple drill bits for each size that you plan on using, because the chances are you're going to probably need them. So that's the hole that I drilled out, and as you can't really see clearly, but you're gonna have to trust me, the threads are intact, and that was the objective. So still have this one to remove, but since I've either broken or worn out my bits, I'm gonna have to go to the store and get more bits before I can continue. And in the spirit of slow and steady wins the race, I'm not going to even try to go at this busted bolt without sharp, fresh bits. So that won't happen today, I don't think. It's getting late in the afternoon on a Sunday. Lowe's closes early on Sundays, so we'll see. I'll see if I can't get out there. But the good news is that that one came out and is intact, which I'm just tickled pink, as they say. You can see up here we've got some rust issues, corrosion issues going on here. So before we can put the lower fender bracket on, we do have to dress this area up with some platinum rust preventer and some top coat, which we'll do in due course after. And let's be optimistic here that we get this second bolt out successfully. So that's it. I mean, I'm kind of amazed. This kit, which is not the spiral kind of kit, it comes with these straight shaft style, where these flutes dig into the bolt so that you can then turn the bolt. They do recommend that you drill completely through the bolt, and as you've already seen, I didn't quite get there, but it still managed to get the bolt out. So then what you do is you put slide this point down with the hex and use either a socket or a wrench. Adjustable wrench is what I used, and you twist it out. I saw one comment online with this type of bolt remover where they suggested using 2 wrenches opposed to evenly apply pressure so that you're not applying pressure on one side versus the other, and whether or not that will work in your application is up to you to decide. But this is an unqualified success. So very happy about this, and now I'm going to go get some more excuse me, some more drills so I can work on the other bolt. Okay, onward and upward. Here's another shot with the bolt extractor shaft removed. You can see that the drill had kind of worked its way through. It wasn't perfectly on center, but it was close enough. So I successfully got it out. Another thing to note here, when you're drilling through steel like this, you don't want a high RPM. You want to have a variable speed drill that will be relatively, oops, where'd it go? Where are we here? That will be relatively slow, because if you go too fast on the RPMs on the drill, you'll just burn up the drill. So you need to keep the RPMs low, maybe 150, 200, something in that range. You can actually look that up for what the proper RPMs are for drilling through steel. That information's out on the internet, and I'm sure there's a gazillion machinist type websites out there that'll tell you that. But you definitely don't want to go on a high RPM when you're drilling through steel. You want to keep it relatively slow, and that will also keep the bits going for as long as possible, even though, as you see, I didn't quite make it with the bits, and they wore out before I got completely through, at least on the second bit. The first bit I did get completely through, and as I got completely through, the drill bit snapped off. So it didn't get stuck in the hole. It was enough through that I could push it through, but yeah, the first drill broke off when I broke through. So like I said, have lots of drill bits on hand because you're going to need them. Onward to the next bolt. Well, I'm kind of gobsmacked. I actually got the second bolt out. It was a bit of a fight. It didn't want to come out, and I finally took the impact wrench to it with an extension bolt because of the length of the shaft of the bolt extractor, and that didn't work initially. So then I applied heat. Come on, focus. I guess that's the best I can do. But you might be able to see that the nut extractor is a little bit twisted, and that's because of the heat, because I had the nut extractor in the hole when I heated it up. So I have sacrificed the nut extractor. I don't think that this one is reusable. At least I wouldn't reuse it, but it got it out. The bolt came right out once I hit it with some heat, and I didn't even get it red hot, but it certainly was hot enough where I can still feel the heat coming off that, the remnants of that bolt. You can see I didn't, again, the drill wandered a little bit. It's pretty much center. Where are you? Pretty much center over here, but it did walk a bit, or maybe it wasn't quite straight. but in the majority of the threads, I think all of the threads actually on the nut side survived, and that's the important thing. So I'm really amazed that I got both of them out. And just to prove it to you, there they be. Two nut holes ready for bolts. I do have some prep to do here. I'm going to put the Eastwood Platinum rust encapsulator on here and the chassis black. So we're not ready for the fender to go back on, or for the fender bracket for that matter to go back on. It's the fender bracket that uses these two these nuts to fasten to the tub of the car. So I got a little bit more to do, and but it worked. It freaking worked. So there's the kit on the ground, the rigid kit. Let's see here. Rigid set number 10, screw extractors. You can't, I don't know if you can see the print because it's molded into the case, but there are all the specifications on the extractors and the instructions, which you can never lose because they're molded into the case. So we have these, I guess you could call them pins. These are centering arbors, where if you've got a bolt that's in a hole, these will help you center the drill by placing the drill inside or through the hole. As you can see, they're drilled through. They're meant for the drill sizes in this kit, and then this chamfered edge will rest in the bolt hole, and it will help you center the drill. You don't need to keep these centering devices on for the entire duration. You just need to get the drill started, and then you can remove them. And then you've got your extractors and drills, and as I said in my previous update, buy lots of drills. This drill bit survived for the entire depth of the bolt. So it's a good drill, and I would recommend it if you don't want to go with left-hand threads, which is preferable, but those are not normally stocked in your Home Depots and your Lowe's. You'd have to order them, and they're not cheap either. So I got by with the right-hand twist drills, or the normal twist, I should say. And, you know, I guess that's it. So we're almost home free. I'm just so pleased. I can't tell you, because I was expecting this to be basically a disaster. So we'll see each other again shortly for the next phase of the reassembly of this old Jeep. See ya. Bye. Okay, quickie update here. Since there was a fairly decent amount of surface rust in this area, I decided might as well, since I've got the fender off and I've got pretty much unrestricted access, that I use the Eastwood Platinum rust encapsulator here and did the frame up in this area. I will also do as much of the shock tower as I can in its current configuration, but I'm not going to take the spring or the shock off to do that fully. We'll just wait for its turn. It's not terrible, it's not perfect, but it'll wait for another day, a rainy day, I guess. I am done over here with putting the platinum stuff on, as well as the Eastwood top coat. So that bracket is almost ready to go back on. I'm just letting that paint cure for a couple of days before I put the part on, and so that's where we are. So shortly when this dries, I just got done applying it, I will put the black top coat over this. Again, probably 2 coats it will take to cover all this up. And then by that time, all of the straggler parts like the battery tray will have arrived, and I will be able to put the fender back on the car, and we will call this a successful endeavor. Fingers crossed that the new fender fits as reasonably well as the driver's side fender. So that's it. Next update coming up. Bye. Okay, got my new old stock battery tray from Mopar Factory Parts. Not the greatest customer service that I've ever seen in my life. In fact, among the worst, but I did get the part eventually. And so it's going to replace this, which is pretty heavily corroded up here and over in this corner. Not worth the effort to recondition it when this part cost, I guess, 50-60 bucks. So we've got that all squared away, and so I can reinstall the battery. That's good news. And then we have our first coat of black over the silver platinum Eastwood rust encapsulator, and I'm going to put a second coat on here and then let it cure for a bit, and after that we'll be ready to put the fender on. So we're almost there, almost. So that's it for this update, and when you see me next, I'll be putting the fender on. See ya. Another quickie update. I have put some of the silver platinum Eastwood rust encapsulator on here, and I've just put on an hour or so ago the black top coat, the first coat. I will put a second coat on. I'm not going to do the inside of the shock tower because the shock and the spring are in the way. All 4 springs are rusty. At some point in the relatively near future, I plan on replacing the springs. I'm kind of reluctant because I also have wanted to do a 3-inch lift on this Jeep, but I'm not sure if that's in the budget this year. We'll sort that out when the time comes. The bottom line is I'm not going to paint the inside of these shock towers just yet. And when the shock tower, and even though that shock is looking a little bit rusty, it's still fine functionally. So I will put one more coat on, and then we're going to be ready to put the fender on this Jeep. There are a few things I still have to do. I have to get an M8 nut because the nut, as you can see here, when this stud snapped off, the half of the stud got stuck inside the nut, and I had planned on using my extractor tool, the kit that I just bought, the rigid extractor tool kit, but unfortunately the nut seems to have grown legs and walked away because I can't find it. I probably threw it out by accident, or as soon as I get this all back together, I'll find out wherever the nut went when it's too late for me to use that. So still have to go to the hardware store to get a bolt and a nut rather, and a washer, and then, as I said, number 2 coat, which probably will come this evening after this is good and dry, and then we're ready to put this thing back together. The only other things I have to get, I bought a replacement terminal kit, and I need the lugs because the kit didn't come with the lugs. I thought it did, but apparently I bought the kit that doesn't have the lugs, so I'm going to have to go to an auto supply place and get some lugs, so when I cut those battery terminals off, I can solder on lugs and then use the new terminal connectors, which will then also allow me to neatly connect the positive and negative of my auxiliary lighting system And but that is not going to hold up the reinstallation of the fender. So we're very, very close, and hopefully in the next couple of days it'll happen. So, oh, one more thing. I still have to make up my mind about what I'm going to do with these loose wires. Am I going to just put it in the loom and loop the wires around like this, or will I cut them back and bring them down? Haven't made up my mind. When I put the bracket on and I see how everything kind of goes together or not, then I'll decide what to do there. And that's it. Very short list of to-dos, and then we're going to have this vehicle back on the road, which is good because my Avalanche got hit in the passenger side rear quarter, $600 worth of damage, and the Avalanche is not a terrible rust bucket like this car, and I invest a lot of time to keep that vehicle in top-notch condition. So as soon as this car is back on the road and I have a spare car that I can use, then the Avalanche is going in the body shop to get that ding fixed. Anyway, that's it for this update. I'll show you at the next one. See ya, bye. Time for another quick update. I've got the mounting bracket on. The lower mounting bracket for the fender is now completely fastened in all respects. I went out to the hardware store and I got some stainless steel nuts washers, lock washer, regular washer, for the studs coming out of the firewall, the two of them. So there's a nut here, there's a nut on the other side here. Can't quite see, but and then there are 3 bolts. There's one bolt over here in this corner, and then there are 2 bolts under here, and I've got that all snotted up with fluid film. And I've also put fluid film snot all over the brackets where they come in contact with the fender, hopefully to discourage any in-between component corrosion. I have not yet put the U-clips on. The U-clips are these suckers in lieu of nuts. They go like so, like so. I'm going to let the fluid film snot set up a little bit before I put these suckers on, but that'll be the next step. And then once that's done, we should be ready for the fender. I've put the brake line back on after painting the frame. I've got the ground lug all reattached. I put some dielectric grease all over that, cleaned it up, derusted the bolt in some evaporust. I think the frame looks good, you know, for what it is, and obviously with all the components on the frame, there are some spots where I didn't paint, and maybe there'll be opportunities later to get at those spots, but for now, I think that for what was exposed and readily accessible, this looks good. So I'll show you the next update for you momentarily, but for me, who knows when it'll be. Oh, one more thing. I put loom on the wires that were coming down. These wires are for the top lights. They go through and behind this bracket, come out here. I've got them tie wrapped so that they don't flop around, and so everything is kind of hunky-dory. I do have some extra wire here. I just looped it rather than deal with that for now. There is a possibility that if I find a aftermarket circuit breaker box, fuse box, or combination, not circuit breaker, combination relay and fuse box that I like, that I might redo this all yet again. But for now, I think that's plenty fine. And as I said, on to the next update. Hopefully the next update will be me reinstalling this fender. But if there's something in the interim, I certainly will show it to you. Okay, see you, bye. Okay, so we are going to try and reinstall the fender at this point. For the driver's side, I did not capture that moment on video, because I forgot to turn the video camera on and discovered that mistake after I had gotten through the initial steps of installing the fender. So we're going to try to correct that this time, so you can at least see the fender go on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 bolts in temporarily just to keep the fender from falling off. And then I will play with fitment. Don't think I'm going to do that quite on camera, simply because it takes a long time and these Fender videos have already gone long. So, but what have you. We'll see how good or how bad this side fits. The driver's side didn't fit so bad, so we'll see. But let's get to it. Move that a little bit out of the way. And move it. I guess that's as close as we can get. And now let's try and get a bolt in, which I have put some anti-seize on. Okay, that bolt is on a little bit. I think we need to encourage it to go on a little bit more. I don't want this bolt tight. I just want this bolt in enough so it will not fall off. Okay, that's in enough. And now we want to get a bolt on the front. Can I get you guys in there to see this? Okay, I think you can see the 3 bolt holes there. That is what I am after. I'm just trying to see if I can work this without getting my big fat head in the way of the picture. Put another bolt in down below, eh? Gloves off. I gotta put more anti-seize on. Another bolt. Okay, that bolt is started. Good enough for now. So, of course that anti-seize shit gets all over. So we've got two bolts up front. They're not tight. Got one bolt in the back, not tight. Now what we're looking for on the back end is to get that seam all nice and done up properly and have the hood closed properly, and that's what we're after. So but it looks promising that this isn't going to be a huge fight. So I think that unfortunately you guys are going to be in the way for the most part. So we have a total of 14 bolts to put on here. Let me show you. Take the camera off the tripod. So we've got two of those 3 bolts in. Then over in here we have another 3 bolts that we have to mount along with a bracket. There's a bracket that goes in here, and then we have 4 bolts that go here, and then we're going to have that top bolt plus 3 more for a total of 14. So that is what I intend to do. I don't think I'm going to be able to record putting every bolt in here, but now you see the fender is on. And so I will come back to you when all 14 bolts are on, and we'll go from there. Okay? Okay. I just want to show you this bracket I mentioned. Goes like so. And that bolts on. I'm going to put some fluid film snot actually on the nose, just to discourage corrosion from forming between the 2 pieces of sheet metal, and then proceed to put those 3 bolts on. Now, I think I'm going to wind up 2 bolts short here, because there were 2 bolts that snapped off that lower bracket, the reconditioned bracket there. So I should wind up 2 bolts shy, and in that case I will have to at some point head off to the hardware store. They're all M8s, 13 millimeter. Anyway, onward.